Welcome back. Uh, in our previous class, we have done contact and non-contact forces. Okay, we have done contact and non-contact forces, and in this section we'll do, or in this lesson we'll do Newton's first law and Newton's second law. Okay, so before starting with this, suppose there's a body at rest. Okay, all right. Suppose this is a table and kept a box on the table. Now, if no one touches this box, what will be the position of this box after 1 year? After 1 year also, this box will be in the same place. Okay. After 2 years, if no one touches, this box will be in the same place. In short, what we can say is, unless some external force acts on this box will not change its state of rest. Our body will remain at the state of rest unless and until someone pushes it from one side. Okay, if force is acted on this box, then only the box will start moving, otherwise it will continue to be at rest. Likewise, suppose a body is moving, how to stop this body, how to bring this body in a rest? We have to apply the force. Okay, if we apply the force against the motion of this body will come to rest. Okay, so what we can understand from this example is, if the body is at rest, it will continue to be at rest, or if the body is in motion, it will continue to be in motion unless acted by some external force. So this is Newton's first law. What is this? This is Newton's first law. What does Newton's first law state then? According to Newton's first law, a body continues in its state of rest or motion unless acted by some external force. Okay, so if a body is in rest, it continues to be in rest. If the body is in motion, it continues to be in motion unless acted by some external force. This is the statement for Newton's first law. From Newton's first law, we understand two very important things. Number one, we get to know about force. Okay, we will get the definition of force. Definition of force, and number two, we come to know about inertia. So from Newton's first law, we get the definition of force and we will know about inertia. So first let us define force. According to Newton's first law, okay, this is very important in examination point of view. The question will be asked like this: define force from Newton's first law. Okay, our answer will be, according to Newton's first law, force is that external agency. Force is that external agency which changes the state of rest or motion. Force is that external agency which changes the state of rest or motion. Okay, from Newton's first law, we get to know about the nature of force. Okay, what is it? It is an external agency. What does it do? It changes the state of rest or motion of a body. Okay, now next we have inertia. First let me define inertia. Inertia is the property by virtue of which tries to remain in the state rest or motion. Inertia is the property by virtue of which a body tries to remain in the state of rest or motion. Okay, or inertia is the property of a body to remain in the state of rest or motion. Okay, from Newton's first law, what does it say? A body tries to remain in the state of rest or motion unless acted by force. This property of a body to remain in the state of rest or motion is called inertia. Okay, now let me give one example. Suppose a book is kept on the table. Okay, suppose, like, suppose let me take this hand as a table, and suppose this is a marker. Okay, if you keep a marker in the table, it will remain in the state of rest unless some force acts on it to move it. Okay, and if a body is rolling, it will keep on rolling unless some external force tries to stop it. Okay, now one very important question from this inertia is, dash is the measure of inertia. Dash is the measure of inertia. Our answer will be mass. Mass is the measure of inertia. Okay, this is very important. Now let us understand why mass is the measure of inertia. Now let us understand why mass is the measure of inertia. I'll give one simple example. There's a table and there are two boxes, A and B. From here we can easily understand A has small mass and B has greater mass. Okay. Suppose a small force is acted on these two boxes, same force, okay, with same magnitude. Then which one will move first? This body will move first if they are made up of same material. Okay. The only difference out here is mass. It has small mass, it has bigger mass or greater mass. So this body will move first because this body has greater tendency to remain at rest. This body has greater tendency to remain at rest because it has greater mass. Okay. Another example. Suppose two iron balls are rolling and a person is trying to stop these two iron balls rolling towards him. Which iron ball will be stopped by this person easily? Of course, this iron ball will be stopped by this person easily rather than this, because it has greater mass, so it will be difficult for him to stop this iron ball rolling towards him, which means this iron ball has greater tendency to remain in motion. Okay, so from here we can understand mass is the measure of inertia. Okay, now there are two types of inertia. Number one is inertia of rest and another one is inertia of motion. Okay. Let me first of this. Okay, there are two types of inertia. Number one, inertia of rest, and number two, inertia of motion. What is inertia of rest? Inertia of rest means the tendency of a body to remain in the state of rest. Okay. For example, suppose two persons are riding on one bike. Okay, there's a rider out here, there's a pillion out here, and suppose one person is sitting in this pillion. Okay, what will happen? When the bike suddenly starts, the person sitting here will try to fall back. Okay, he will try to fall back. The reason is, suppose it is the seat of the bike. Okay, this is the rider and this is the person sitting at the back. Okay, this rider will be holding the steering out here. Okay, when he rides the bike, this person will move backwards like this. The reason is the lower portion of the body will be attached to the seat, so it will move along with the bike. But this upper portion is unaware of the motion. It is unaware of the motion. It will try to remain in the state of rest. Okay, this portion will try to remain in the state of rest. That's why, suppose this is the lower portion of our body which is attached to the seat, and this is the head. When this body moves along with the bike, this portion is unaware of the motion because it tries to remain in the state of rest. So lower part tries to move along with the bike and upper part tries to remain in the rest. That's why we feel that we are moving a little bit backwards. Actually, we are not moving backwards, but our head tries to remain in the same place. Only our lower part is moving along with the bike. Okay, so this is the inertia of rest. Inertia of rest. Another example of inertia of rest. you keep a card out here, you keep a bucket out here and keep a card and keep a coin out here. If you flip this card, the high magnetic force, then this coin will fall down. Okay. Next is inertia of motion. Inertia of motion means if a body is in the state of motion, it tries to be in motion continuously. Okay, it continues to be in motion. For example, if you are running very fast, and if you try to stop suddenly, you'll feel that you are moving a little bit forward. Okay, you're moving a little forward. If you are moving very fast and suddenly you stop, you move a little bit forward. You cannot stop at once if you are moving with very high speed. Okay, and you can in the back only. Suppose two persons are. I'll talk about the person sitting at the back. Suppose a person is in the back at the pillion seat. Okay? When the back suddenly stops, you will try to move forward because the lower person stops along with the bike because it is connected to the system of the bike. Now, but the upper person is unaware of that rest. Okay, so when the bike rests, this upper portion of the body, our head, it tries to be in motion. That's why we lean forward. Okay, that's why we lean forward, and that is the reason why athletes take a step back while jumping. Okay, because if they run and jump while running, they gain momentum, which will try to bring them into motion easily. Okay, so this is inertia of motion, and inertia. There are many examples of inertia of motion and inertia of rest. You can find it in your book. Okay, right. Now let us understand what is momentum. Momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Mass into velocity. Momentum means the product of mass and velocity. Its unit of mass is kilogram. Unit of velocity is meter per second. So the unit of momentum will be kilogram meter per second. Okay. Momentum means mass into velocity. It is the product of mass and velocity. Now, the unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second. Okay, kilogram meter per second, and it is a vector quantity. Momentum is a vector quantity. Now what we are doing is we are building a base for Newton's second law. Okay, so in order to understand Newton's second law, this is very, very important. This is the pillar of Newton's second law. We need to understand what is momentum. Okay, so momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Okay, now. So, if the body is moving with velocity v1 and it has mass m, what is the momentum? M into v1. Okay. Suppose the body is moving with velocity v2 and if it has a mass m, what is the momentum? M into v2. Why? Because momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Mass and velocity. Velocity is v2. That's why momentum is mv2. Velocity is v1, that's why momentum is mv1. So what is the change in momentum? Change in momentum is final momentum minus initial momentum. The change in momentum is final momentum minus initial momentum. And if this change in momentum is taking in time t, okay, if this change in momentum is taking place in time t, then the rate of change of momentum is represented by change in momentum by time. Okay, by just building our basics. Okay, change in momentum by time. Now let us go to the main point. Let us first define Newton's second law. Okay? Alright, before defining Newton's second law, let me give you one example. Suppose a ball is rolling. A ball has mass m and it is moving with the velocity v1. Okay, a body has mass m and it is moving with the velocity v1. If I apply force F from outside, okay, a body is already moving. Keep in mind, a body is already moving with the velocity v1. Even then, if I apply force from outside, the body will tend to move with greater velocity, isn't it? A body is already moving. A body is already moving with velocity v1. But if I apply force, body is moving slowly with v1. But if I apply force, a body will move faster. In that case, let the velocity be, in new case it will be v2. Okay, suppose initial velocity is v1. After I strike with an external force F, the body will move greater faster, and that time the velocity be v2. So what was the initial momentum? mv1. What is the final momentum? mv2. So what is the change in momentum? mv1 minus mv2. Now what is the cause for this change in momentum? What is the reason for this change in momentum? The reason is force. Because of this force, the momentum is changing. Okay, so from this, keeping this as a base, we'll define Newton's second law. Newton's second law states, I'll not write this on the board. Okay, let me write. According to Newton's second law, the rate of change in momentum is directly proportional to the external force and the change takes place in the direction in which force acts. Okay, according to Newton's second law, the rate of change in momentum is directly proportional to the applied. Actually, it should be not external but applied. Okay, it should be applied force. The rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. Just now we did same thing, isn't it? There was a change in momentum, and that change in momentum was because of force. Okay, and the force and the body, the motion takes place in the direction in which the force is acting. This is Newton's second law. The rate of change in momentum is directly proportional to the applied force, and the change takes place in the direction in which the force acts. This is Newton's second law. So this is also a very important law. Okay, we get definition of force from this law, even we get a definition from this law. Okay, so the question will be, define force. Okay, but before defining force from Newton's second law, okay, now let us derive one equation. According to Newton's second law, force equals to rate of change in momentum. So according to Newton's second law, force equals to rate of change in momentum. Okay, because it's in proportional, we are directly writing equal to, where we have, let us imagine we have already removed the proportional sign. Okay, force equals to rate of change in momentum. Alright, so let the body have the mass m. Let us consider the body as mass m. It has initial velocity v1 and final velocity v2. Let us consider the body has mass m, initial velocity v1 and final velocity v2. Okay, you have to write it out here. So, okay, let me write it properly. I'm dropping this statement. Right. Let body as mass m, initial velocity v1 and final velocity v2. Okay, initial velocity v1 and final velocity v2. Let t be the time for which force acts. Okay, let t be the time for which force acts. So according to Newton's second law, F equals to force equals to rate of change in momentum. Okay, what is initial momentum? Let us directly go to that section. Change in momentum was final momentum minus initial momentum, and since it is rate of change in momentum, so it is rate of change in momentum. We have discussed about it earlier only. Rate of change in momentum means change in momentum by time. Initial momentum mv1 because the velocity is v1, mass is m. Final momentum mv2 because velocity is v2, mass is m. So change in momentum means final momentum minus initial momentum. Rate of change in momentum means change in momentum by time. What your mass is common, or F equals to mass common v2 minus v1 by t. Now look at this. v2 minus v1 is change in velocity and t is time. Change in velocity by time is called acceleration. So change in velocity v2 minus v1, change in velocity by time. So the change in velocity is by time is called acceleration, rate of change in velocity. Okay, so therefore F equals to mass into acceleration, where a is acceleration. We have to write that. Okay, where a is acceleration. So we get this from Newton's second law. F equals to m into a. Okay, so this is okay. Now the question. Now let us go to the question. The question will be derive F equals to m into a from Newton's second law. That will be one question. Or another question will be, how do you define force from Newton's second law? From Newton's second law, force is defined as the product of mass and acceleration. This is quantitative definition. Okay, this is quantitative definition for force, and the definition which we have got from first law is qualitative definition. Okay, so from Newton's second law, force is defined as the product of mass and acceleration. It's very, very important. Learn how to derive this equation. It's very important. Okay, now, okay, so we have discussed about the law and about this formula. It's very, very important for a numerical point of view also. Okay, now let us understand some examples. Okay, or the topic is examples of second law of motion in daily life. Examples of second law of motion in daily life. How does Newton's second law of motion, how can we get, or how can we understand it in our daily life? Okay, so first of all, let me give you an example of a cricketer. Okay, we must everyone has seen that when the fielder takes the catch, he withdraws his hand. Okay, suppose the ball is coming towards him, he will not just hold his hand and the ball will come and catch like this. Suppose if the ball, no fielder does like this and catches like this. Okay, when the ball comes, he will try to pull it back. Why is he pulling the ball towards himself? Because he is increasing the time of impact. Okay, he is increasing the time of impact. If the change of momentum takes place in rapid pace, in short time, the effect of force will be very large. Okay, look at this. The effect of force is very large, but if I do like this, the effect of force is less, so that I will not feel the pain in my palm. Okay, so first let me write down force definition. Force equals to change in momentum by small change in time. Now look at this sign. This sign is called del. Okay, it's delta of Greek alphabet. Del, it means small change. So force is small change in momentum by small change in time. Okay, so if this time interval is very short, okay, if this time interval is very short, then the force, okay, the impact of force will be large. Okay. If the change in momentum is taking place in longer time, then the impact of force will be little bit less. So suppose we want to take a catch. In order to feel less pain in our palm, we will try to increase the time of impact. That's why we withdraw our hands. Okay, another example. Suppose this is a floor. Okay, this is a hard floor, concrete. Okay, and this is a sand. Okay, this is a hard floor, concrete. Let me keep it. Okay, yeah, and this is a sand. Now I drop a cup. Okay, I drop a cup out here. When it strikes this concrete floor, it will break like this. Okay, yeah, it breaks. But if this cup falls on the sandy layer, it will not break. It may not break because it will not break because it will get more time of impact out here, because sands are soft. When the cup lands on the sand, the time of impact will increase. That's why the impact of force will be less, or the magnitude of force will be less. Out here the magnitude of force is large because the time of impact is very short. Out here the time of impact is more because the sand is soft and it is okay, and this cup gets enough time to decrease its momentum. Okay, that's why in this case this cup will break, in this case the cup will not break. Okay, there are many more examples, you can find it, okay, and practice from your books. This much for today.